Welcome everyone to the last meeting of August for the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm President Becky Greenwald. So, the Rotary Club has accomplished a lot since we were first initiated as a Rotary Club, as the first Rotary Club in the state of Iowa. And of course, our club was number 27 out of more than 46,000 Rotary Clubs in existence today across nearly 200 counties and territories. So the early success of Rotary and Rotary Club of Des Moines has contributed so much to the success and growth of Rotary across Iowa. And as Rotarians understood our capacity to do good in our communities and beyond, Rotary morphed into the service club and the international organization that we are today. And through our collective efforts, Rotarians and Rotarian projects create hope in the world. So I just want you to know, anybody want to guess how many Rotary clubs are in Iowa today? We were number 1. There's 127 by my count. I could be off 1 or 2. 127 Rotary clubs in Iowa now. And our club has sponsored numerous clubs. As a matter of fact, I've tallied 11 clubs that we've directly sponsored in one way or another. Back in the 1920s, we brought in 5 clubs: Newton, Perry, Winterset, Indianola, West Des Moines. At that time, it was known as Valley Junction, though. And then the Northwest Des Moines Club in 1968. And in more recent years, we've helped sponsor the Greater Des Moines Club, the Des Moines AM Club, Ankeny, East Polk County, and I believe the Rotary Club of Waukee. We were involved with that one as well. So if you know of any others, let me know, because that's quite a list of 11. I'd like to go right into our moment of inspiration now, and I'm going to take some quotes from our current Rotary International President, Gordon McAnally, and he said, while he was revealing his presidential theme for this year, which is the Create Hope in the World, President Gordon urged members to promote peace in troubled nations, help those affected by conflict, and maintain the momentums and initiatives begun by past leaders. President Gordon also stated that the goal is to restore hope, to help the world heal from destructive conflicts, and in turn, to help us achieve lasting change for ourselves. Rotary bridges lasting change to the world, one restored or newly created hope at a time. So those are the words from President Gordon, and I think you'll agree that's one thing we all have in common as Rotarians. So now I'd ask you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and our 5-way test. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is it true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Is it fun? Thank you. Greet each other, fellow Rotarians.
Jordan, let me know if you'd like to switch. Somebody, welcome back. Hey, how's it going? Yeah.
That's all on camera.
I'm actually living right downtown in an apartment complex.
Just holler if I was going to try to face it a little bit.
I live right above the right above there.
nice greeting and meeting. We have three guests that we'd like to introduce today. So I'm going to ask our guests to please stand as they call their name, and then we'll applause at the end, and then you can sit down. So first of all, we want to welcome Brian Donahue, who is the CEO of Broadhorn Capital Investments and a guest of John Tone. Welcome, Brian, can stand. We also have two guests of our speaker. We have John Shields, who is the Vice President of Construction, and we also have Lily Lori Fedler, who's the intern. So welcome, both of you. Okay, it's tumbler time. I want you to know I put my $27 check in the tumbler from last weekend's faux pas, so I paid up. And I just want you to consider donating $5 to the tumbler if you don't already have a green $sign on your name badge. And even if you do, you can always donate more to our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation. And of course, thank you for your support. And remember, the 1911 Challenge is on. It started July 1st of this year. It goes through June 30th of this year. So all those things you did last year, they don't count for this challenge. It starts this year, July 1st. So please have fun with it and bring some other members in with you to compete the challenge and complete it. I want to remind you also to check out your Where in the World is Rotary Club 27. You can check these out with Kitty when you're going somewhere fun or doing something exciting. Take a picture and send it back to us. We don't have any shots except for this one of us at the Botanical Garden last week. It was going to be music in the garden, and it was music, but we ended up being in the DuPont room because it was one of those almost 100-degree days. So they took mercy on all of us, and we were indoors. But we had a good time and toughed the heat and enjoyed ourselves. Okay, I want to also let you know that we have a good time to have our speaker visit with us today. And I would like to invite our own member, Greg Edwards, to come up and introduce our keynote. Great, thank
you. Thank you for that round of rousing applause. As always, I am standing. I apologize to my good friend David Oman for things I may begin to say. And thanks to Jackie Norris for asking me to introduce our great guests that we have with us today. And I apologize to David because I hope my introduction of the speaker doesn't last longer than his actual talk, like David did a couple weeks ago. You know I love you, man. But today, it's really a pleasure for me to introduce to you another great Peorian, Mr. Mike Whalen. I learned a lot of things. You know, Mike's one of these very conservative, humble people. I get a bio, you know, from his through his website, and it's like 2 paragraphs. Doesn't talk about all the great things he does and has done. Not only was he lived in Peoria, graduated from Bergen Catholic High School back in 1972, which was a year before me, from the competing high school down the road, graduating in 73. But he's accomplished so many things and made such a wonderful difference, not only to this community, but really throughout the country. He's the founder of Heart of America Group, which and he serves there obviously as president and CEO. Through his entrepreneurial leadership and vision, the company has grown from a single restaurant operation to a profitable and growing real estate development and hospitality enterprise. Mr. Whalen received his bachelor's degree in political science from the great Fighting Illini at the University of Illinois, receiving the distinction of Bronze Tablet Scholar. And then he went on to this schlucky law school called Harvard Law School, where he graduated with honors with his law degree in 1978. He's received many, many awards, so many that I can't list them all, but a couple of the big ones are the Humanitarian of the Year by the National Restaurant Association, Entrepreneur of the Year by Inc. magazine, on and on. married to his dear wife, who's also involved in the business, Kim, has 2 children, Chris and Katie, and he'll tell you a little bit more about those. I went to his website, and I've counted what I could count on his website. He owns and operates 25 restaurants, including many familiar to you, Machine Shed, Johnny's Italian Steakhouse, on and on and on. Operates 20 hotels and growing, brands like Marriott, Hilton, Embassy Suites, which is part of Hilton, and has created his own brands now too, like Wildwood Lodge, Renovo, Reveal, Rewind, Axis, etc., etc. If you think about the transformation of this metro, which I get probably most of the credit, rightly so, for that. Just kidding. But you look at the stuff that Mike's done, and I'll single out one really cool thing that he's done amongst many, is the Altoona project. And you look at Altoona 20 years ago, and Altoona's always been a great kind of touristy town, always had Adventureland, Prairie Meadows, etc. But he took a chance on buying a bunch of land over there in Altoona, and look what's happened. The Bass Pro Shop, the outlets of Des Moines, all these new restaurants and hotels, a lot that has to do with him, but he's brought in new developers, obviously fresh dollars, and true tourist attractions to help grow our economies. An interesting fun fact about Mike is he also is a great humanitarian, a great boss. He brings his 2 dogs to work every day to work, so he can create dog therapy for his beloved employees. He brings his 17-year-old dog Bentley, who's a Schnauzer, and a 2-year-old Dandy, who is a Wheaten Terrier, to work every day with him. And I think the most important thing about this guy is, you know, I started my career in this business with Marriott, and Mr. Marriott's philosophy was always, if you treat your employees great, then they in turn will treat your customers great. And that's one thing that really vibrates with Mr. Mike Whalen. Let's bring him on.
That's quite an introduction. Actually, the reason the dogs go to work is my original office was in the basement of my little house that I bought for $51,000 back in 1979. And so when we finally got a little office, they said, I looked and said, what do you do with the dog? Because we worked about 12, 13, 14 hours a day. So I said, well, I guess the dog's going to work. And he has since then. So anyway, thank you for having me. Basically, we've been involved in Des Moines, all around the metro area, invested a few $100 million of investment from the east side to the west side to the south side since about 1990. Finally, I got my wife, because of a 3-year-old granddaughter, at that time she was 1, Julia, or Julie McCulia as she's now started to call herself. Finally got Kim to move here after badgering me here for 30 years. She would tell the story much differently, but that's the true side of the story. So we basically moved here largely because 2 reasons. We have family, a granddaughter, and next month we will have a grandson. Ben is on the way. But the other reason we moved here is this. This is the place where the main group of our investment is. And frankly, you will never go wrong in the next 25 years betting on Metro Des Moines. This is one of the best places to build. It's the best place to build. It's the fastest growing area in terms of job growth. It's got a dynamic future. So many things are going on. And we said, you know, instead of going around throughout the Midwest, and if you could move that thing, okay, well, I guess they got our pictures up there. You're going to move one more? So you can see that we're in 7 states, but for the next few years, this is where we're going to be investing. We don't need to leave town to have some of the best opportunities in the entire United States, and that's why we planted the flag here. A few years, back in 1990, we opened the Machine Shed. For some reason, I thought a 500-seat restaurant out there made sense. I'm not sure why I thought that at the time, but thank God it worked, thank you God. Okay, and since then we've invested with 10 hotels and various real estate developments. And now we planted the flag a few years ago in the East Village. I remember driving around the East Village about 15 years ago with my good friend Doug Siedenberg. I said, Doug, we should be buying everything up here. And he goes, why? Okay, and it's been a brilliant story about the East Village. How organically this area developed from kind of this dingy east side of the river to kind of a cool and hot place to live. In fact, I remember calling up Marriott when they had this brand new brand, AC, that they bought out of Spain. And they said, well, it's going to go into New York and Chicago and LA. I called them and I said, I want to build one in Des Moines. And they're like, where? And they said, come on over. So we walked the East Village because that was the whole idea, that you were going to be in an area that you would walk and have fun. And we went around, showed the bars and the little places, and ended with the tattoo parlor. And I said, is this a kind of funky, a little bit gritty neighborhood that you were looking for? And they said, yes. I think we were the 9th one in the entire North America. And at that time, it was pretty unusual. So what we did is we planted our flag there, bought about a block of office buildings and a parking deck down there. And our latest project right now is, you can see it right, in fact, if we were in that other dining room, we could look out there and see it. The 7th story just went up, and it's called Tempo. But as you can kind of see, this is what we're building now. It's really kind of a new area for our focus, which is the multifamily development. And one of the reasons I got invited to speak here today was we're using a very unique and cutting edge building methodology, and I think it's pretty cool. And we found this is used a little bit more in Wisconsin. It's very prevalent in Europe. It's not very prevalent here in the Midwest, but I think it's pretty unique. And you know, one thing you learn in kindergarten, it's always good to bring things to show and tell. You gotta have something to show. And basically, John, if you could hold this up. You remember Legos? Okay? Basically, this system utilizes styrofoam fox blocks, they're called, with plastic dividers. And this is what forms the walls. 10-inch and 8-inch walls. You fill it with solid concrete, and basically you have a building that's super sustainable, super energy efficient. They will have to tear it down in a couple hundred years in order to bring it down. This thing won't leak or create. It's a very unique methodology the difference is that you have not only a super high R value to the walls, but you have a super high STC rating so that the building is dead quiet. In fact, we built a hotel up in Wisconsin with this methodology, and the opening night, everybody's walking around going, hey Mike, this is a really pretty place, but my cell phone doesn't work here. $82,000 later with cell phone repeaters that we had installed in the hotel, cell phones work. But one of the things that excited the city of Des Moines when we presented this to them was that they wanted sustainable. They want something, the most sustainable building is one that isn't going to be creak and leak and be kind of obsolete in 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years. This building will still be around 200 years from now. And that's a way different methodology of construction. They wanted something that would really kind of be accretive in terms of value to the quality of the multifamily in the downtown. And that's what we're trying to do here. This will be about 109 units. And as you can kind of see, the construction is built like a tank. And will be highly energy efficient. We'll reduce the carbon footprint and resource efficiency. You don't have a lot of the waste that you have in a traditional stick-built type of construction. So it's really a cutting-edge type of construction that is really unique. And part of our commitment here is this. This is our first project, and we've already announced our second project. If you know the corner of the, and sorry, I apologize, that we're going to tear down an iconic building in Des Moines, which is the American College of Hairstyling. There, by the way, if anybody needs a sink, the day before that, we got all kinds of them. You can come have all the sinks you want for free before it comes down. But we'll be doing another building called Aston, named after one of our former dogs, which is a 185 unit multifamily project that's using the same kind of sustainable and long-term type of construction project. So we're planting the flag here, and we're going to continue to grow, because if you look at what's changed Des Moines, probably the most significant thing that's changed Des Moines, well, there's a lot of things that's changed Des Moines. A lot of things. I mean, you know, I hate to say it, you folks have lived here a long time. We would come here, typically fly in, get in the car, drive to our businesses. And you know, when we would come here, and this isn't to knock my hometown in the Quad Cities and Bettendorf and Davenport, but there's a palpable sense of vitality and energy in this community that isn't in a lot of communities in the Midwest. There's just a sense of energy, movement, vitality that I find energizing. And I don't take it for granted. Yeah, I'm fired up. In fact, I just turned 69 in May, and I got tired of bankers asking me, well, why would you still work, Mike? You know, like, first of all, it's really stupid for a banker to ask me why I still work because I borrow money from him. In fact, he should be going, hey, that's really cool. Got more projects for me? But so I actually wrote a country song, and it's now third week in a row on #1 on the UK Hot Disc 40 charts. A country song. I'm just getting started, because that's the way I feel. I'm fired up about it, because we'll continue to invest and grow. We've got a couple more projects in multifamily that's targeted. We just opened, my son just opened his 4th hyper energy bar. If you haven't been there, you need to go. It's a new way to get caffeine. Better way. It's a young way to get caffeine. We just opened another Tommy's Car Wash in West Des Moines, but it's just that, again, you're not going to go wrong betting on Metro Des Moines in my foreseeable future. We're excited about it. And so you'll continue to see, this project is about $25 million. The next project, Aston, will be about $55 million. I always say 52 in case my CFO is here, but he's not here, so it's going to be roughly 55. Okay, but we'll continue to invest heavily within Des Moines and the greater Des Moines area. And that's an exciting thing, is that, so, you know, when people say, what's cool, exciting about Des Moines, you know, you come in and you go, what other community of this size would take on a water trails project that's $125 million? That's a heavy lift for a community like this. But you know, this community doesn't think twice about it. We're just gonna go get it done. Okay? You know, maybe you take it for granted, but we actually, you know, we're out riding our bikes on one of the best trail systems, I think, that's in the Midwest. And the things that are available here. So there's a continued excitement to create the amenity base for this community, to grow it, and that's one of the reasons that I think, I can't remember who just said it was one of the best places to be a young professional to buy a house. You've heard all the accolades, but that's what's going to keep driving Des Moines in the next 20, 30, 40 years, is that kind of excitement. I just recently, I'm part of a business group in South Florida. We do have a home down there. And there's a subgroup, a forum that we meet, and 5 of the guys are from New York. And they're like, Dave and Boris, he's on Wall Street guy, and he just recently, about 2 months ago, he goes, now Mike, you live in Des Moines, in Iowa. And I can tell he's trying to be really delicate with me, okay? What he really wants to say is, why the hell do you live in Iowa, okay? And I said, David, you've never been to Iowa? Of course not, I've never been to Iowa. And I said, David, this is classic New York. I said, what percentage of Iowans do you think live on a farm? I don't know, 60, 70%? I said, actually, live on a farm is 1.5%. He goes, really? I said, no, maybe 25 or 30% of people are connected with some form of agriculture. But, and then he looks at me, he goes, Mike, what the hell does everybody else do? I said, oh, we got square dance callers, auctioneers, okay, door-to-door bib overall salesmen. So my farm is going to come up here next summer. Because I said, we got a lot of fintech. Really? Because, New Yorkers think that there's no fintech anywhere but Wall Street, right? I said, we have this thing, boring old agriculture. It's, it used to be that you just planted a seed and you hoped it grew. I said, it's developed into a radical world of biotech. Just really. I said, some of the most interesting cutting edge things in all of biotech in the world are being done in central Iowa here. I was like, really? I said, the companies, seed companies, it's Bayer and Corteva and all these worldwide companies, Monsanto, that are revolutionizing agriculture. We got a guy, Harry Stein, out in Adel, Iowa, that he owns 80% of the genetic stock of soybeans, and he's going to figure out how to get 400. He told me, he goes, my dad got 40 bushels an acre. He said, before I die, I'm getting 400 bushels an acre. I said, that's happening right here in Iowa, central Iowa. So that's why we're here, committed to all in. We're committed to staying and building and investing right here in the central Iowa. And I don't think there's a better place to be, frankly. We have things in Kansas City, we have things in Peoria, we have things in Milwaukee. We have something in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and as soon as I can leave that state, I will. Okay. But so that's really it. I think that we, as I said, there's a distinct sense of energy and excitement that I feel every day when I come and drive to work. I'm like, this place is growing, moving, changing. The amount of entrepreneurial activity that's here is amazing. I mean, I read about these companies like, who is Open Loop and what do they do? Okay, what is this company, this VizTech or this thing? And they're all entrepreneurial things that you don't historically associate with the mentality of Iowa. But Des Moines got it. Metro Des Moines has it. So, why am I here? Because I'm just getting started. We're just going to keep rolling ahead with projects here in central Iowa and do it in a unique and innovative way. And if you have any questions about Heart of America, I'd be glad to take them. But I don't know if this is interesting, but I'm a geek. I find this thing cool. So I figured out how to take styrofoam, put little plastic things in it, and you fill it up with concrete, and you got a really cutting edge building. So with that, I'll open it up to questions if anybody has any questions for me.
So your energy efficient building, do you have special energy efficient glass systems?
In this building here, we have a high R value glass, actually made by Windsor Windows right here in central Iowa. We have used electrochromatic glass. If you go out to the wall and burger shed that faces to the west, that's electrochromatic glass that automatically tints based on an algorithm and the amount of UV light that hits it. Salmon's building is out in West Des Moines uses it. But some of these things, there's a lot of new technology coming to construction, and that's a kind of exciting change. construction didn't have a lot of innovation for probably 50, 60 years. If you look at historically, it's probably been the lowest productivity growth industry of any major industry in the United States, but that's changing as you see it right now.
Mike, tell them about the two-truck man.
Well, a few years ago, he's referring to, I happened to have a happenstance run-in. A friend of mine was doing a country music fantasy camp down in Nashville. I was writing a song that I had written, finishing a song that I had written called Makin' It and Makin' with Steve Williams, who he wrote, anybody country music fan here? I don't think a lot of you look like maybe you're a country music fan. He had, his big hit was Redneck Yacht Club, but a fellow named Keith Burns from Trick Pony, who Grammy nominated for Song of the Year, came over and he says, I like the hook in your song. And I said, I just wrote a better one called Just Getting Started. That was about 4 years ago. I went over to his house. We finished that song in about 5 hours, and we've written a bunch of ones. In fact, we just finished one, taking it to the studio. Two Truck Man is a song that I wrote. Work hard, play hard, park it in the front yard, die hard, two truck man. We just did one lost heart, one lost soul, one lost heart, one lost man that we were going to take to the studio in Nashville. And as I said, one of the songs is on the Hot Disc Top 40 in the United Kingdom, which in the world of country music is maybe like being the #1 song in Mandan, North Dakota. It ain't exactly Nashville, but hey, it's #1 somewhere, right?
For my question, a funny aside, my dad grew up in Peoria, and when I would go stay with my grandparents in the summer, we would meet at Machine Shed in the Quad Cities for them to exchange me. So I just thought that was kind of a funny...
To exchange you?
Yeah. But no, on the insulating concrete forms, how much does that change your time of construction and also the cost?
John can speak to that. It's definitely more expensive than conventional stick-built construction. I mean, but you know, you've got an R value that's probably, and R value is the insulation quality of the exterior wall. How energy efficient is it? How much energy does it leak? And R values are not arithmetic, they're geometric. So if you go from 10 to 25, it's not, you know, just 2.5 times better. It's more like 6 or 7, 8 times better. So you get an R value that you can't get in a conventional stick-built wall. You get an STC, or sound transmission coefficient, that you just can't get in a stick-built wall. And that's the #1 complaint in multifamily. But I think that's a thing. And one of the things I'm going to say is this. I know a lot of times city governments are impugned, but I would, the economic development people in the city of Des Moines recognize when you're trying to do something of high quality and work very closely, very well with you. I found them to be outstanding to work with. Maybe one of them are out there, hopefully, anyway. Yeah.
Yes, post-pandemic, how did you find the employment environment trying to, the employees for your hotels and restaurants and so forth?
Well, I never thought that on March 17th, not that I'll ever remember it, forget the date, 2020, we laid off over 4,000 people. And let's stop for a second on that, because that was a tough day. And so 2020 was very tough. 2021 was very challenging. And then much to my shock, 2022, we beat 2019, which was our record year. Our EBITDA was 34% higher in 2022 than it was in 2019. So and this year we're beating last year. So you know, we're the hospitality business, and we are obviously in other businesses that aren't hospitality, but it's come roaring back. And but those were a couple tough years for somebody, many eggs in a hospitality basket as we have. It's been tough. Now we're pretty much fully staffed, but it was challenging, really, for 2 years.
I've got
4 kids, high school and younger, and this hyper energy bar, they started wanting me to take them and their friends out to Grimes, and then one showed up really quickly in Urbandale. We live in Urbandale, and I was curious on the process for that, because it looks like it's a pre-manufactured building. Are those working out well for you, and do you anticipate that being a similar concept for other things that you're doing?
Well, it's really, it's a modular built box. It's factory built, built like a tank. You can stack 13 of them structurally on top of each other. But it's kind of neat. It's a plug and play deal where John and his crew get basically the site ready. It shows up on a truck. We crane it on and you bolt it in, plug it in, and basically your business. As I said, we have 4 open. My son has 4 open. He has a site in West Des Moines, Windsor Heights, over there by the Sam's Club. He has one over. He has a site in Altoona. Has a site under control in Ankeny, and working on one for downtown because the site analysis that he uses indicates there's a strong demand. But it's a different concept. It's a double drive-through, and if you go, it's an energy drink based, because young people get their caffeine more from energy drinks than coffee. So if you go into a Come and Go or a Quick Star, and you go into the refrigerated case, you'll see rows of energy drinks, whether it's Rockstar, Monster, Celsius, there's all kinds of them. And that's the way the kids prefer to get their caffeine. So, if your teenager comes home a little bit hyped up, maybe we're to blame.
I think it was called Aftershock and Blue, and then they're going all over the place.
But it's different. But my son is having a lot of fun doing it, and so that's kind of exciting. Yes.
You still involved in Wildwood Branch?
Yes. Yes. Wildwood was something that God told Kim and I to do about 23 years ago. It's a 400-acre ranch in St. Charles. We have about 1,000 kids in the program at any one time. We've had, 15,000 kids go through the program. We deal with at-risk kids. We work through 73 social service agencies and actually public schools, even though we're faith-based. Because they see how we change kids. We try to get them in at 8 and 9, keep them until they're 18, working through leadership programs. We teach them that we love them, that God loves them, and that they can be people of character, and they can make choices, which most of these kids find astonishing because they come from environments where they think it's almost predestined to replicate the dysfunctional life that surrounds them. And we break that cycle. And actually we're working right now on developing a foster parent support program. And if you look at it, the last time I looked, there was more than 400 minor children in shelters in the state of Iowa. That's not right. So we're going to start a program that is replicated, actually, and bring it in where we support foster parents, because it's hard to be a foster parent. Recent statistics indicate as many as half of the people that get into the program drop out in less than a year because they find it overwhelming. We want to try to change that statistic in Central Iowa. We're not going to try, we're going to. Yeah.
Mike, I heard you speak several months ago at the machine shed on your views on the state of the economy and the federal government. And you're usually such a bashful, inhibited guy.
I'm working on it.
I can't, this is not a political group, but I can't sit here and not ask you to take a few minutes and share a microcosm of what you talked about that morning.
What you see is I won't speak too long about this. Unfortunately, in the 21st century, the only tool that the Federal Reserve has pretty much the only hammer they have is, there's some other sophisticated things, and the control of M2, the money supply and things, but the biggest one is interest rates. And obviously they wanted to get inflation under control. The biggest problem that we're gonna be facing here in the next few years is very simple. Think of it, how many of you ever taken a car trip with 2 kids in the back seat? Okay? And have you ever maybe pulled over like my dad did, or I had to do, which is, if I have to stop this car and pull over, that's gonna be hell to pay, right? Okay. Well, think of it as having 2 kids in the back seat. One's reading a book and one's just raising hell. So you reach around and you smack the kid that's reading the book and you turn to the other kid and go, if you don't settle down, that's what you're gonna get. That's what the Federal Reserve is doing. They're smacking the private sector that did not create the inflation because they cannot control the government spending, which is being printing money right now, that created the inflationary spiral that we have now. But they're gonna shut, I'm afraid, and it's gonna be a challenge for Des Moines and this. I mean, when you're all of a sudden going to banks and they're telling you that interest rate's 7% versus 4% only 24 months ago. That challenge, when you try to build a project like this, the economics of the pro forma radically change. So I'm hoping that, unfortunately, they have that blunt interest instrument that they have to basically radically slow down the private sector in order to get inflation under control, because they can't tell the government quit spending money. That's it in a nutshell. We're going to see the ramifications of that, unfortunately, in the next 12 months. In fact, I know Hubble's finishing up their last building in the bridges, and it's just finishing up, which will mean I think this is probably the only multifamily project currently under construction in the whole downtown, that larger downtown area right now. Whereas, one of the changes that occurred in Des Moines is that people figured out, all across the country actually, how many studies did they have of how to bring retail to the Walnut Street corridor, okay? They probably did 10 of them, or 5, a bunch of them, right? And they all were a waste of money. And then people figured out, hey, if we have people live downtown, then maybe things will happen downtown. You came to downtown Des Moines 20 years ago, at 5:30, you could blow cannons through the place, right? But now I think there's 11 or 12,000 people that live within downtown area. That number needs to go to 20, and then 25, and then 30. And that is the #1 way to keep your core vital and activated. And if you have an activated core and a vital core, you have an activated and vital metro area. So I think continuing to grow downtown housing is a very important part of keeping the metro area growing and vital. Yeah.
Is the emphasis of your business switched more from hospitality to residential? Is that what we should infer from this?
It will continue. Now, we are working on a couple hotel projects right now. And we'll continue to grow there, but yeah, we decided that maybe we could have some eggs in a different basket a little bit. But basically, the difference between this and a hotel is the duration of the lease. Stop and think about it. Okay, I mean, in a hotel, we're basically leasing it on a 24 daily basis, and this on an annual basis. So we're going to take a hospitality approach, and that's one of the reasons that our hotels have done so well. Is that most hotels in this country are owned by real estate development companies. One of the unique things, the accidents of my life, is I had no idea that I was going to be standing here. First of all, 45 years ago, I thought I was going to be an investment banker in New York. And instead, I opened a 100-seat restaurant called the Iowa Machine Shed and found out I liked it. And built the company from that. But when we got into the hotel side, we saw it as, from the hospitality standpoint, not the real estate development standpoint. And we'll do the same with multifamily. take a hospitality mentality, because I'm telling you right now, in Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, Heart of America is considered this weird bunch of people that actually like the food and beverage side, okay, because most of them hate it. And they said, well, you know, Whalen started in the restaurant, so that's what makes them kind of different. So yeah, we're gonna take that hospitality and bring it to, like we did to the hotels, to multifamily. And I can see that you're ready to stand up and get rid of me. Okay, okay.
One more question.
Okay.
Mike, back to the subject Dave raised. Is there an interest rate that is gonna shut down your additional development?
Well, it was a double whammy, because when we took Tempo into the city the first time around, John, John has built something on, I think, every part of the planet in the world except Antarctica, okay? He's very good. We did a pretty good cost estimate, literally within that 24-month period, to when we actually went to hard bid, our costs on this project went up 18%. So you talk, you know, hopefully, they really haven't moderated much. Okay, cement went up the road. This went, electrical switchgear went crazy. So when you do that double whammy of inflated costs and couple it with much higher interest rates, it's going to really slow. It's hard to make this. One of the advantages that Heart of America has is we design it, we build it, we operate it. And I have this attitude, maybe it comes from the farm roots in Iowa. I have the attitude that we're going to own it forever. So if we come out of the box with an interest rate that a REIT or a merchant developer that wants to flip it in 3 years would find unacceptable, that's okay to us, because long term I know that we're going to have a great building and it will get better over time. But that margin got pretty skinny with the 18%, and we had luckily had locked in the financing on this one. If we were looking at 18% and 7%, the project probably wouldn't have gone.
Wow, well, that's a lot of information packed into your lunch. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here and all of your comments, Mike. I would like to also let you know that as a token of our appreciation, we've donated a book in your honor to the Des Moines Public Library. Your book will become part of the Rotary Rosie Reader Van collection, and our club donated $40,000 to the Des Moines Public Library Foundation to purchase that van in 2020. So now it's time to share upcoming events. In addition to our every Thursday at noon meetings, we'll have at least 2 opportunities a month to get together and meet up with each other. You've got the information on your table, and it's also out by the name badges about the upcoming happenings. And remember, we do Second Chance Tuesdays. They take place every month, the second Tuesday of the month. We'll be back at the Big Grove on September 12th. The fellowship and fun is free, and the beverage and food is on your own. And don't forget to sign up and reserve your place and bring your guests and prospective members to our September 14th Thank Fall event. It's a social evening that we're going to have at the Jester Park Nature Center, and we're looking forward to a great time, and the more the better. And please be sure to bring your loved ones and prospective members. All are welcome for this fun evening of food and fun with What You Smoke and Barbecue, and a beautiful location at Jester Park Nature Center. And we'll have music by Dan Medeiros. And the invite was sent out in emails to all of you yesterday, so you should have seen it. And I want to be sure that you RSVP by Tuesday the 5th of September. So maybe do it before you go out for the Labor Day weekend, because we do need to turn our county into What You Smoke It. We've got to buy the meat and start smoking it. You can register yourself and your guests online. There'll be a $20 per person charge, and we can bill that to your Rotary account. And I want to say a huge, giant thank you to our event sponsor, Newman Brothers. Thank you very much, Josh Braby, for making that happen. And also our music sponsor is MDS Records Management. thanks to Eric Dickinson. So I hope you all come out and enjoy us for a fantastic evening out in the Iowa countryside with What You Smoke and Barbecue. We'll have brews and wine and soda and water, whatever you want. Now, September 7th, next week, we're gonna see Terry Johansson with the Iowa Environmental Council. She'll be talking to us about clean energy for a thriving Iowa. September 14th again, where are we gonna be? Chester Park on the evening. No meeting here on Thursday, the 14th. We'll see you at the Nature Center. RSVP by this Tuesday. And then on the 21st, we'll be back here in the Embassy Club, and we'll be hearing from State Auditor Rob Sand. I want to thank everyone for being here today and being a vital part of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. For club number 27 means business. I want you to have a wonderful holiday weekend, and until we meet again, let's get out there and have fun and do good in the name of Rotary. We are adjourned.